weird US-EU games with a ceasefire in Ukraine to save Zelensky. Borell, big events are coming. West plans electoral ceasefire in Ukraine to avoid Zelensky's total crash. Ukrainians pressured to show results in the next 10 days to keep Zelensky in power for money. Ukrainians pressured to show the results next 10 days. July 1st, today at 1:45 p.m. In the blacklist of Ukrainian President Zelensky's sanctions, 190 natural and 291 legal Russian persons are in the blacklist of Ukrainian President Zelensky's sanctions. And an hour before, at 12:32 p.m., revealed the unknown background to the CIA intervention in the Wagner mutiny, the drastic U.S. phone call to Russia, revealed the unknown background to the CIA intervention in the Wagner mutiny. And then a few minutes later at 12:53, Zaluzhy, Ukrainian army commander, leopards don't parade, reasonable to be destroyed, whatever that means. Maybe they don't work. Now, July 1st at 10 in the morning today, U.S. Ukrainians backed into a corner. Mark Miley says counterattack is slow. Another Ukraine crash with 200 gone in Bakhmut. U.S. Ukrainians backed into the corner. And at 9:37 in the morning today, the Ukrainian counterattack fails. This is a given, and both the USA and the EU admit it. The American Commander-in-Chief, Mark Miley, admitted that the pace of the Ukrainian counterattack is slower than expected, while the assessment at the EU level is similar. In this context, Americans and Europeans are striking plans to stop the Ukrainian army, which counts more than 15,000 gone since the start of the counterattack, April 6, 2023, until today. They're looking for a Minsk formula, but on the battlefield, in order to prevent a Russian attack that will deal the final blow to the Ukrainian army. In essence, the collective West is planning a ceasefire in Ukraine in order to give the necessary time to the Ukrainian army to regroup and be reinforced with new weapons. The statements of both the American Secretary of State Antony Blinken and the head of the EU's foreign policy, Joseph Borell, are characteristic, who foreshadows major events in the coming period. Blinken spoke of ending the conflict through diplomacy and negotiation in the near future, and Borell said big events are coming. During the Spanish presidency of the Council of the European Union that began today, Saturday, July 1st, very important events, he said, are coming for Ukraine. Borell said in an interview with TVE, he said, it's about what happens on the battlefield and negotiations to end this conflict. Borell also noted that peace talks between Kiev and Moscow depend on events that should be expected in the coming days, and according to him, the number of peace initiatives is increasing. The real goals of the ceasefire? Russia is on high alert as it wants to avoid a Minsk-style trap in the field and is skeptical of the West's sudden inclination to negotiate. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov was asked to comment on the Blinken statement, but also on the initiatives undertaken in the West in general. Lavrov told TASS, "It's a strange statement, I've heard it." All of this is being said almost simultaneously with statements from the same Secretary of State Blinken, the same leaders of the U.S. National Security Council, and the same European Union and NATO officials who continue to say Ukraine must first win with a successful counterattack, and only then we will decide to negotiate, Lavrov explained. It's a schizophrenic situation, he said. They say everything will end with negotiations, but first we have to defeat Russia, he said. He also drew attention to the basis on which the West wishes to negotiate. Lavrov noted the United States, together with NATO members and the European Union, has firmly, repeatedly, and uncompromisingly stated that the only basis for negotiations is Zelensky's notorious 10-point peace formula. There are some provisions, it's not clear why they were included there, he noted, naming food and energy security among them. These are the same things that have been undermined by Western sanctions, he said. But the main thing about the prospects for a peace treaty is that first Russia must withdraw beyond the 1991 borders. The Russian leadership must judge Russia to pay reparations. Only after these conditions are fulfilled will peace come, they said. This is what the West has in mind when it talks about the need for negotiations and a peaceful settlement, explained the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov. He observed that this disorder does not help to properly assess the situation. And the West wants to stop crushing the Ukrainians. Lavrov revealed, the way I see it, they are trying to temporarily freeze this conflict, achieve some kind of a ceasefire, and buy time to build up Ukraine military again, but build a new military infrastructure and supply it with new lethal long-range weapons, Lavrov revealed. He even added that this scenario is promoted by important U.S. circles. He cited a recent article in Foreign Affairs magazine that promotes exactly these kinds of scenarios. Make peace, take a breath. Yes, Russia will also have a break, but the whole West is behind Ukraine, so we, the Western countries, will make it much stronger, and then we will continue to push for the same goals, Lavrov pointed out. The Kremlin has repeatedly emphasized that it has never refused dialogue with Kiev. That is noted by Putin's representatives, Dmitry Peskov. There are no conditions for this now, since the plans for a real peace are absolutely excluded, both by Ukrainian authorities and by the collective West. Ukrainians are under pressure to show results within the next 10 days. Western countries backing Kiev expect Ukraine's armed forces to make frontline successes in the next 10 days, and therefore Kiev may attempt a major offensive before the NATO summit in Vilnius. He said in TASS, the president of the moment, he says, we are in Russia, Vladimir Rogov. Earlier, Zelensky admitted that in an interview that Ukrainian forces are under pressure to show results ahead of the NATO summit, scheduled to be held in Vilnius July 11 and 12. Ukraine does not want to show results as much as it should. It's necessary to keep Zelensky in power and give him more money and weapons. He is pressed for time, and there are about 10 days left before the summit, Rogov said. Therefore, I have no doubt that they will attempt a major attack on the front line sector within the next 10 days. He said it's likely to happen in the Zaporizhia region. The capture of an area, for example, Vysaleyevka or Tokmak in the Zaporizhia region, would mean success for the Ukrainians, Rogov said. He said they will make every effort towards this goal. Zelensky will try not to lose his goal, he said. According to the politician, a very tense and complicated period of 10 days is coming. FAS, Agreement, Western Framework for Ukraine. Meanwhile, Germany, France, and the United Kingdom have almost completed work on a draft framework agreement with Kiev to guarantee Ukraine's security. This is revealed today, Saturday, July 1st, by the German newspaper Frankfurter Allgemeine Sonntagszeitung, FAS for short, citing sources with knowledge of the matter. The quartet of the United States, Germany, France, and the United Kingdom has almost completed work on the draft of the planned framework agreement. In the near future, the G7 countries and the EU should be involved in the discussion, the newspaper writes. As the newspaper noted, it's assumed that within the framework of the multilateral agreements, all participants will conclude separate agreements with Kiev, which will explain how each of them can help Ukraine in the future. As noted, some country will help with weapons, some with money, some with training of soldiers, or help in expanding the Ukrainian defense industry. The treaty should become a bridge on Ukraine's path to NATO. At the same time, Germany wants to propose an Israeli model to ensure security, but opposes giving the agreement a legally binding character. In Berlin, some are even talking not about guarantees, but about promises of security, the newspaper pointed out. According to FAS, advisors to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expects guarantees to be given in Kiev before the next NATO summit in April 2024. At the same time, for Kiev, the Israeli model is only a plan B. As noted in the article, the goal remains full integration into the alliance of NATO. The so-called Yermak Rasmussen plan named after the Chief of Staff of the President of Ukraine, Andriy Yermak, and former NATO Secretary General Anders Fogh Rasmussen, predicted that until then, Ukrainian security will be ensured through a multilateral system of guarantees by the Western allies. And this is from Banking News Greece. I've translated this for you from a Greek article. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.